because the screen industry is so challenging, you can keep pursuing something, going and going and going, and it can be your downfall. It can actually not be that wise to keep pushing when something doesn't work. So where is the wisdom between that Einstein saying of it's insanity to do the same thing over and over and expect a different result versus success mostly comes from 99% or whatever, from tenacity and perseverance, right? And I think there is a wisdom there. And I think that, yes, you need to persevere, and yes, you need to be persistent.
Welcome to Resilient Entrepreneurs, Andrea. We are so glad you're here with us, and we're looking forward to a very interesting conversation. How are you today?
I'm feeling wonderful. Thank you so much. And even better for being here with you two gorgeous women.
Oh, wow. That's the perfect way to start. I love to kick off with a really deep question. If I handed you a magic wand right now, Andrea, what would you do with it?
I would send more love into the world. Pretty much. No, but that's actually true. It's actually true. I think the world could do with so much more kindness, care, and love. And a big part of that love is love for self. And I think when we're in a space of loving and nurturing ourselves and filling ourselves up with, having our needs met,
Yeah.
and emotionally accepting all parts of ourselves, so much less need for conflict, war, and power mongering. So I
Mm,
think it would be a good thing for the planet if we were all just loved ourselves more.
yeah. Why is that important to you personally?
As Vicky knows, I've experienced a lot in my life. I grew up under apartheid South Africa, and I can see what power and control and greed does to people. And I've also worked in conservation. I've come from a filmmaking background, and I spent a few years working in game reserves doing wildlife filmmaking, but also feature films using animals. So deeply immersed in working with people who were working towards conservation of the planet. Now we're going back to the 90s, right? But I became very acutely aware of the things that people were doing that were damaging the planet. So they were coming from a point of wildlife, but I see it every day, and I see it in the backyard, and I see the impact on the planet of our agricultural systems, of the amount of chemicals that are, I mean, you look at what's going on in South Australia at the moment, right? Like, if you deeply cared, would you allow that to be going on?
Just
With
share
the
for us, Andrea, what you're referring to.
Yes, this could be for an international. They've got a catastrophic algal bloom in South Australia at the moment. Gorgeous beaches and reefs, and dolphins and stingrays and fish, and just thousands of them just on the beaches dead from the
Oh,
algal blooms. So this is coming from the rising of the temperature of the sea. I think it's 2.5 degrees above what it should be, but then also the runoff from agriculture, with offering too much nutrients into the ocean that are not supposed to be there. From, what do you call that stuff that we feed plants?
Fertilizer.
fertilizer.
Fertilizer, Vicky. Thank you so much. So yes, fertilizer. Too much fertilizer. So, long answer to a beautiful little question. But also, Laura, I know that I'm a very capable human with determination, with a lot of love, with a lot of care, with academic intelligence, creative capacity, and the level of beating myself up I've done in my life makes me realize that, well, if I'm doing that, I'm not going to be alone. And then I was part of running a full 1 day workshop just last week on Wednesday, I think, for Compton School, which is a business school for the creative industries, running at RMIT, which is one of our premier universities. And we were interviewing a series of top-level film producers, like top of their game, like best in the country. And individually, each one of them expressed that they still suffer from self-doubt and imposter syndrome. I was like, oh my God. Like,
Wow.
so there's a lot of, I think there's, and am I overstretching to say there's a lot of suffering on the planet? And I think the best place to start is in your own heart. And I think I'm a perfect person to speak about that, because as much as I've cared about others, I think I've been quite self-destructive. Not so much anymore, but it's such a new revelation that it's close to the surface and close to my heart.
That's a big answer. That's a big answer, Andrea. Thank you. Thank you for bringing all of you, for sharing the vulnerability and also giving us that perspective of how different aspects of your life in different geographical locations, in different eras, have all had that similar thread of peace, and how peace, as you see it, starts from within, which can sound like a simple message, and yet it's profound.
It's profound. Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you. I trusted our audience will perhaps reflect on that for themselves. And, perhaps this is it, the answer to imposter syndrome. Kindness and self-care. I don't know, your thoughts on that. And also, I'll piggyback a second question in there. I'll just jam that in. So one is imposter syndrome, because that's incredible that you have the national leader in the creative industry expressing and sharing that they still feel that. Let's just leave it with that one for now.
Yeah. Okay. So I think that the idea of fixing imposter syndrome or fixing self-doubt is really quite simple. You can't. Don't bother. Rather, just accept it's part of you and don't respond to it. It's just like, oh, there it is. Yeah, I'm feeling self-doubt. Oh, well, I'm human. I'm not alone. So it's the same thing as feel the fear and do it anyway, right? You don't wait to get rid of fear. You just recognize it and you don't hold yourself back because of it. Yeah. It's in the same vein.
And it's just the unfamiliar, right? And I think it's normal and human to have a fear of unfamiliar, because our whole body is designed to protect us and keep us safe and survive, right? We have a survival instinct, and like fear comes up when something is unfamiliar and like, whoa, this is scary. And it makes me silly to be like, why are we scared of a stage or, speaking at an event, or like, that's not a tiger chasing us. But we still get that same adrenaline, fear, all the things that hit us. And it's, unless you do it all the time, I think it's always going to be there. Yeah.
And Laura, as you know, I'm coming from the film industry, and you talk to actors, and yes, what you're saying, unfamiliar, never done it before. So of course you're going to be afraid. And thank your, ego self, or that part of you that is there to keep you alive and keep you safe. But I tell you what, you talk to big time actors who say, every time I walk on the stage, I still feel trepidation and I still feel fear.
That's wild. That's so hard to believe. That's wild. Yeah. But that makes me feel better, because it makes me feel like, well, if they have it, then, I'm not on their stage. I'm just on this little stage. I can handle this. If they can still go on. And the thing is, they do it anyway, right? They feel that fear and they do it anyway. And that's the difference between,
and the familiar part, I mean, I haven't heard them say this, but this is, what I think, is the familiar part is knowing that in the past I have felt that and I've done it anyway and it's turned out great. So it just becomes part of this, that part of that strategy is how do you respond to that little feeling as it comes up? And the response is, oh, hello, there you are again. Now let's do this.
I love that. And I wonder whether for that set and perhaps others, that little tingling fear or the overwhelming fear of vomit before you go out on stage, whatever the range is for you, perhaps that's a part of the addiction. It's a part of why we do the thing,
Wow.
because that fear is, it feeds something.
Hey there, sorry for the interruption, but if you're a woman entrepreneur ready to raise your profile, expand your reach, and start being seen as the expert you already are, we have a challenge for you. Vicky and I have created a free guide called the LinkedIn to Latte Method. Check it out in the link below. It's designed especially for women who are done playing small and are ready to attract opportunities, clients, and increase your visibility. No tech overwhelm, no awkward call DMs, just clear, authentic strategy that works. So download the free LinkedIn to Latte guide below, take the challenge, and start turning your brilliance into real opportunities. Now, back to the episode.
Well, it's that adrenaline, isn't it? People do become
Mm.
addicted to adrenaline. So yeah, maybe that is it.
Yeah.
So maybe that is like, is that, Vicky? Maybe like a little recipe for a good life is find the things that are going to give you that kick that are also good for your life.
Yeah. I love that spin. I love that term because then you get to look at something that you would otherwise resist as something that you could encourage and say, yeah, let's do more of this because I can feel fun in it. I can feel something good in it. Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, like with humans, we have a perpetual drive to grow.
Mhm.
So you know that saying, you're either green and growing or ripe and rotting. But we have this drive in us.
Yeah.
And we've got a drive in us to keep growing. And maybe we've got, like, we're all addicted to dopamine, let's face it. It all depends on where you get your dopamine from. So you go to find your healthy sources that are going to give you a bit of a rush, perhaps. And then in doing that, you are growing your life, you're growing your own personal capacity. And I think that's a big one, right? Is as you stretch yourself, you become stronger.
Yeah.
It's
That's
like what's his name? Nassim Taleb wrote a book called um, um, it's called Anti-Fragile. That's right. And it's that concept of if you to be resilient means, and being resilient comes from, I think, a term to do with metallurgy or something. If you stretch something and it comes back to its original form, then it's resilient. But to be anti-fragile means as you stretch yourself and you actually become stronger. Like our immune system is an anti-fragile system. So that's what we aim for. But I wanted to just say about your I've talking about being harsh on myself. I've really judged myself also for feeling unsatisfied. Sometimes I look at my life and I go, okay, I've got all these things in place, 2 beautiful kids, got a career, got a partner, got health, got so much in my life, and yet I feel unsatisfied. And I felt real shame around that until somebody said to me, yeah, but that's the thing that keeps humans innovating. So
Yeah.
that thing about self-love is like you love all things about yourself, even the part that keeps complaining that it's not enough, that things are not enough and I want more and I'm unsatisfied, because that is intrinsically built into us as a driver of progress and innovation.
Oh, I really like that frame because a lot of people will teach about, find your enough and what is enough and reach your enough and, will almost push you away from that drive. But I agree exactly what you're saying. It is the thing that keeps us motivated to innovate
Yes.
and create
Yeah,
and build something more. And why
absolutely.
is that a bad thing? I mean,
Exactly.
obviously there needs moderation and balance in one's life, but certainly that drive is a good thing and we should embrace it because I think we don't reach our potential
Yeah.
when we, push back.
So maybe with all things, it's about wisdom.
Mm.
Like when when and in what direction do you, or if you feel unsatisfied, what do you do about that? Well, you don't get depressed and go, oh, woe is me, and I haven't got enough, and, you know, I want more, and be looking at other people and getting envious and resentful because they've got stuff that you don't have. But rather, again, recognize that feeling. Oh, what is it? Oh, I'm not really satisfied. Oh, great. Now I'm going to go and do something else or more. Or yeah.
Andrea, I would love for you to share with us what some of that drive has led you to in your life, because you're extremely highly accomplished in the film and creative industry, from your past and current. And you've also graced a TEDx stage. I mean, there's so much underneath the surface here of Andrea. Who is Andrea? So what has that drive led you to that you're proud of in your life?
Yeah, I think quite. Thank you for that question, and it's quite timely. I would like to talk about this because I think it was yesterday or very recently we lost one of Australia's top film critics, David Stratton, died I think at 85, and he was really instrumental in the success of one of our films. So in 2007, we made a movie called The Jammed, which was about human trafficking in the sex industry in Melbourne, based on actual live cases and court transcripts, and everything was factually accurate in the film, even though it was a fictionalized depiction of what goes on.
Right.
And at the time, we tried and were unsuccessful in raising money for the film. And then we went to all the screen industry bodies and we couldn't get money for the film. And then Dee, who's the writer director, found a private investor to put 500,000 into the film. And then we tried to get distribution for the film and we couldn't do that. So then we kind of, long story short, but it was a real like underdog story and a tiny little gritty social thriller. And then it went on to then it screened at the Brisbane International Film Festival, and David Stratton went and saw it, and then he was so blown away by the film that he, for the next week, he bumped one of the reviews that he was going to do on a foreign film and reviewed The Jammed. So, and him and Margaret Pomerantz gave it 4 stars. And then from that, it rolled into, we got a cinema release at a single screen here. And then, like, it was unbelievable. It was all over the mainstream media, front page, mainstream media everywhere. It broke box office records. It got the highest screen average for any Australian independent film in history, and that record has still not been broken.
Wow.
So phenomenal success, right? And I'm saying, so that's one of the things that's led to, okay? Yes. And that was hard work, because we made the film and then we were distributing it with another independent film producer, John L. Simpson. But basically we were filmmakers releasing our film, and we trailblazed basically the event cinema type of releases, which has been adopted now and is quite a thing now. So there's one thing, Vicky, a movie. A movie. I mean, I've made lots of movies, but that was the bit of a standout. And
I'm also hearing a lot of tenacity, a lot of resilience, because you created something that was a passion project to begin with, because you, as a thought leader, wanted to shine the spotlight on a problem. And this is what we talk about on this show, is about thought leadership and putting yourself behind your beliefs, standing for something or against something. Mm-hmm. And you walked that talk and then realized the commercial value that it could have, and also the hustle, so to speak, and the resilience it takes to realize the commercial gain. It's a real life entrepreneurial story right there.
For sure.
There you go. Thank you, Vicky. I'll take that one. But there was something when we were releasing that film, because we got rejected left, right, everywhere. We got rejected. Like even like we were told for the Australian Film Commission, which doesn't exist anymore. When we put in for funding for that, they were like, "No, this film just doesn't stand up to the quality, the standard Australian film script quality," or something like that. But then it went on to, with no changes, win best screenplay of the year, right? So I'm just saying, lots of rejection, and I've watched some footage of media that we were on, like, you know, independent television and on radio and doing a lot of interviews at the time. And I kept saying this thing of, we don't take no for an answer. If we hit a roadblock, we're going to find another way around it, you know. And also when I was doing my master's degree, that's the other thing I did as part of my recovery from my brain injury. I did a master's degree, as you do, right? Like, got to get my brain back. But so one of my fellow students, as part of his thesis, was doing the art of resilience. So I was interviewed for that. So I've thought about that quite a lot, right? And then, because the screen industry is so challenging, you can keep pursuing something, going and going and going, and it can be your downfall. Mm. It can actually not be that wise to keep pushing when something doesn't work. So where is the wisdom between that Einstein saying of, it's insanity to do the same thing over and over and expect a different result, versus success mostly comes from 99% or whatever, from tenacity and perseverance, right? And I think there is a wisdom there. Mm-hmm. And I think that, yes, you need to persevere, and yes, you need to be persistent. But I think being really open to the feedback you're getting from the world, and to knowing, okay, I might want to continue to try and get the same result, but should I be doing it a bit differently? Mm. It's like they say an aeroplane, or like when they send out a rocket, right? It is constantly course correcting. They don't just set the destination and off you go, because the weather conditions are changing all the time. The wind's changing and the pressure and whatever. So they just constantly course correcting. So I think it's wise for us to do the same thing. And I don't think I always have. I think I've been a bit stubborn and persistent.
Yeah, stubbornness has its place. But what amazing advice for people out there who are maybe at the beginning, or they're starting their entrepreneurial journey and they're getting the no's and the rejections, and they're just at that crossroads of, what do I do? Do I quit and go this way? Do I keep going, or do I need to change course? And sometimes it's just changing course. And I think what you're also saying there is feedback, right? Listening to feedback and adapting as needed. But knowing that a lot, and I think especially in creative industries, like, rejection is part of the game. You're going to get so much more, right?
Oh, look, it's a numbers game, right? You just look at the stats of how many, something like 80,000 screenplays in America registered with the Writers Guild a year, and then a handful, like a few hundred, get made. I mean, the statistics are really against you. So, I mean, so much more rejection, so much more failure. And you just go, it's just part of what it is. And you just, but I do think that, so a couple of things, Laura, when you're saying about the feedback. So it's receiving that feedback with a level of wisdom and like, you don't just do what other people tell you to do.
Right.
So that's what I mean. It's like when people give you feedback, you hear it and you analyze, where it's coming from. Does this actually land for me? Is this more, or how can I adjust and still maintain my focus, rather than just doing what you're told? Because everybody's got a different opinion. That's the other thing.
Right. I'm hearing that a level of self-advocacy, and going back to your original magic wand even, is the kindness and, honoring what we want, honoring our original why, and then taking in the feedback as a way to say, well, maybe I can get to the same outcome in a different way, bring someone new on, add to the team, drop someone from the team, finesse something, but not to give up and abandon what we were going for just because someone pushes back.
Yeah. And I love you saying that, Vicky, about the self-advocacy, and also, so the, can't remember what else you said, but let's say the self-advocacy, because and your why, that's what you said. Because I think people sometimes lose touch with that. Like, you have the initial drive, you have the initial spark of motivation, and you know why you're doing it. And then you keep going and all the stuff happens to you. And I think sometimes people lose track of why they started doing it in the first place. And that's not self-kindness. And sometimes we will push so hard, and because sometimes it'll be like, I'm not going to fail. I don't give up. I'm going to prove that this is, but actually, what is that doing to your life? So if you are going to self-advocate, doesn't that mean do things that work for you, do things that light your soul, do things that are going to bring riches to your life, whether they riches in community and love, in money, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I think reassessing as you go, and okay, so this thing's working out now, but really what I've done is I've created myself a really nasty job that I've got to keep pushing through with. I think so that reassessment along the way is a big one.
Yeah, and along the way, life happens too, right? Along the way, we have kids and they grow up. We have parents and they get ill. We have so many things in our lives that just happen that's gonna shift our course as well. And I think as women, we're that natural born nurturer, within us, then we feel so responsible for so many external, factors in our lives that it makes it even harder, I think, to stay focused on one path towards one goal. We have to give ourselves the grace to be able to flow with life and to flow with business and all that comes with it.
Beautifully, beautifully said. And believe in yourself while you're doing it, and believe that, you can change, and it's a good thing to grow and to change. And we go through cycles of life and different things become more important to us. But I have found one of the most negatively, is it a headwind or a tailwind when it's against you? The headwind. Okay. Biggest headwind is self-doubt. For me, that's been self-doubt. And then, like I say, we go all the way back to, those successful television producers. When you go, oh, well, that's just a part of life. But that's a new thing for me now. I wonder if you guys have, I know I'm not interviewing you here, but have you experienced self-doubt?
And I wonder if it's this new phase of life I'm heading into myself, but certainly it's hit me worse this year than ever before. This year has been my biggest year of self-doubt. And it's surprised me. I've never been like a super like super uber confident person, but I've always kind of felt comfortable within myself. Where
Yeah.
recently I've definitely felt more like, yeah, not so
And
confident. It's
and
interesting.
then
You
from
brought it
the
up.
outside, other people probably wouldn't notice that, right? Unless you
Yeah.
actually said it.
And I think this is the first time I've said it out loud.
There you go.
Even.
It is. It's certainly the first time I've heard it. We have private conversations sometimes, and we both share having moments of doubt for certain. And I'm going to propose that perhaps this year has been your greatest year of growth,
Mm.
of going so far outside of the core comfort zone and living very much on the edge of that comfort zone and always expanding it and doing new things, just in the things we've been doing. you and I, we've been doing things that are different, new, putting ourselves out there in a way we never have, and supporting other women to put themselves out there in a way they never have. And so, yes, the rewards are it just magnificent. It's so beautiful to see other people do it. And sometimes we forget to look in the mirror and look at how much we're growing. And I think that feeling of uncertainty comes with growth. Growth doesn't happen without uncertainty.
Yeah. And there's vulnerability there too, right? It's very vulnerable to put yourself out there. And we have, like you said, more this year, I think, than ever. And even been sharing more, of ourselves, having, conversations and not, and layers of publicity that we haven't had before. And there is so much vulnerability in that. And I think actors probably feel that really so much because they're being so vulnerable. They're having to perform, but also be themselves, but also perform. And they're going to be judged, right? The second it is, broadcast, they're going to be judged for it. And all the haters are going to come out and all the tabloids are going to have something to say. And the reviewers and all of that. And they know, and when you rise to a certain level of profile, you take your profile up to a certain level, every level you go higher, the more of that feedback, positive and negative, is just going to come your way. And it's hard to be that vulnerable and put yourself out there. And a lot of people don't want to do it. And I understand why they don't want to do it.
Yeah. Laura, this is something else that I was going to say learned, but I didn't learn. I think it was just intrinsic to me from quite early on, is the safety and honesty. And yes, you be vulnerable, but if you are too afraid for your true self to be seen, then you're always going to be creating a mask and you're always going to be hiding. And there's always going to be this fear that, what if I get found out? What if somebody actually sees the real me? But if you put the real you out there and let the haters come and accept that the people who are attracted into my life are attracted to my essence, and therefore it's a truthful relationship, it's honest relationship. And those other people, maybe I don't want them in my life anyway. And I tell you, I didn't even realize I had such a strong essence of this in me until. Should we talk about now, Vicky? Is it okay? We go in and we'll talk about my ex-husband.
You talk about whatever you choose to talk about. Bring it in.
Okay, she won't mind because she won't mind. Because,
everything is welcome.
We're pretty
we
open
keep
and
it real.
We talk about. Let's get real. Let's get real there. My husband and I were living in LA. We'd been there for 6 years doing the Hollywood movie thing. And then after the second child was born, and we weren't financially doing as well as I had hoped, but it's just like, you know what, this is just, I don't want to be raising my family on the other side of the planet. Let's go back to Melbourne. And, but he wasn't Australian, so he had to wait for 3 months, get the visa, I went back to Melbourne, moved in with my mum while we waited for him to come join. And then on arriving back, so I had a 2-year-old and a 6-month-old baby, and he arrived back all excited. We're going to take our slate of movies and get going in Melbourne. Anyway, he revealed to me that he was a cross-dresser, and I'm like, what? It's like, I want to wear women's clothes. I'm like, what? Anyway, turned out that this was a stronger drive than just want to wear women's clothes. So it was exploration time, like, what is this? Why do I have this need? Whatever. So in those early days where we stayed together, in order to be able to dress as a woman, and he'd put on women's clothes and sneak out the back gate and go to Coles and do shopping as a woman, right? This was his form of expression. But it was like, open the gate, can the neighbors see? And I just went, no. If you're going to do this, you do it openly. We let all the kids' parents know. There's no shame in it. You are transgender, and this is 24 years ago. So like, we didn't use the word transgender.
Yeah.
There was no language around it. There was no understanding of it. Like now it's like, oh, he was trans. Easy. Everybody knows what you're talking about. But that thing of hiding, that thing of being afraid to be seen, the moment we told the school, like the kindergarten, okay, so Sierra's dad is becoming a woman, and they're like, oh, okay, well, all right. So if children ask, how do you want us to, what would you like us to say? Do you want us to say, oh, Sierra's got two mummies, or do you want to say, this is Sierra's auntie? And I went, no, neither of those things are true. Sierra has one mother and another parent who happens to be a woman. So two parents, but like, I wasn't about to relinquish my. Damn it, I went through the pain of the childbirth. You are not claiming that title.
I respect that.
Yeah. So that, I don't know why we got onto that, Laura. It's about, it's about your growth
And being seen
and stretching your boundaries, and then feeling vulnerable, and then feeling insecure, and
yeah,
of course.
But I think so much there you're saying about like not hiding and being authentic and how it just became accepted. And instead of people being like, oh my God, and shunning you, they were like, okay, how do you want us to approach this? I think that's what we don't realize, is that often people are understanding. Often people are accepting. You just got to give them the opportunity, to see you. And it's when you hide, it's when you fake, it's when you put on the mask, it's when you feel shame around it, that you hide and dim yourself, then that's when you're surrounded with the negativity versus the difficult part, which is being vulnerable, being authentic, being in your essence.
Yeah.
Then one thing Vicky and I like to talk about in marketing is marketing is like a magnet, right? You want to build a magnet around your marketing because you want to attract people to you, but you also want to repel the wrong people away from you.
Yeah, exactly.
We can't
That's
work with everybody.
right.
Yeah. So it's okay. And it's accepting that. Then you go, oh, and then it all kind of makes sense. It can fall into place. And while you're just being your authentic, genuine self, you're going to attract the people who are good for you and should be in your life, and repel the ones that shouldn't.
And there's, as with everything, there's wisdom to it also, right? So I don't think that, I think it matters that you get to know yourself well, and you get to know what matters to you. Because if you're doing your marketing from your mask, and I don't think you can underestimate knowing yourself deeply, knowing what matters to you, but also knowing what your gifts are, and also what you love. So if you know what your gifts are, you know what you love, you know who you love to work with, and you honestly express yourself from that place, then you're going to attract all the great people into you. But there's some people who are angry and annoyed, and they think that that's them, and none of us are. That's not who we are. That's a response maybe to a bad world that you can make you angry, but that's not who you are at essence. So when we say be open and vulnerable and express yourself, I think you've got to know yourself before you can express yourself, don't you?
Yeah, I think you're right, Andrea. And it's perhaps about going to the next layer, a layer deeper than you even know exists. Because in your example about anger, you might feel like you're an angry person because you're angry at the world and global warming and all the stuff and the injustices. And that makes you a campaigner. And that's a fantastic drive. Yet you're actually not an angry person. Perhaps that anger is masking something else, and what are you truly feeling about the injustice? And then you get to stand for something. And what you've just described is precisely what thought leadership is based on. It's knowing who you are, what you stand for or against, and being okay with that not fitting in with the rest of the world. Because we can't be a thought leader and be morphing our thoughts and be influenced by what everyone else is saying and doing. We have to stand for our own thing, tap into our own passion,
Yeah.
and then share that so that others can join. It's not an exclusivity thing. It's not, well, I'm a thought leader, so you can't be because I think this way about something. It's like, well, maybe I can draw you into my tribe around this concept, and I'm part of your tribe around another concept. And isn't that a beautiful way for us to all learn and grow?
Yeah, isn't it? And that idea, Vicky, of thought leadership, I think it's becoming more and more important as we are inundated with a barrage of messaging. And now a good chunk of that barrage of messaging is just regenerated ideas through AI. Like for people to think for themselves, I think it's becoming, well, maybe it was always as important, but maybe it's becoming more,
Obvious.
yeah, the need for it.
Yeah.
Think for yourself, express from that place, but like discern. Like I was actually listening to, I love podcasts. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and so it was about the mind and you know, expanding your mind, whatever. And it was talking about when you talk about your physical health, you're very mindful about what junk you put into your mouth. Like how you can't be healthy if you don't also consume healthy food. Okay, you can have a bit of junk every now and then, but that can't be your primary diet and be healthy. So you look after your physical body. We need to do that with our minds as well. Like how much junk do we feed in? So it's about discerning about what we listen to, what we consume, who we listen to, because, gee, it's a minefield out there at the moment.
Yeah. I think that's why podcasts have been on the rise in popularity recently,
Yeah.
because I think you're right. I think people want to cut out some of the noise and the clutter and the
Yeah.
barrage, like you said, and social media feels like that. It's
It
one,
does.
5-second message after another.
Sound bites. Yeah.
Sound bites, and you can flip from
Clickbait.
like, children dying in Gaza to like a joke, thing that happened to like a murder on Front Street to like this. And it's overwhelming, I think, to our emotional regulation to have that. We're not built for that. We're not supposed to have news in that type of speed. And yeah, and it's a lot to take in. And I think a lot of people are moving towards podcasts because it's that deeper thinking. It's that longer conversation. It's that, more in depth on a specific topic that is just, yeah. And it feels like building something. It feels like pouring in something good, and there are a lot of great podcasts out there too. I love a good podcast.
You can do feel your nervous system. We're built to listen to each other around a campfire. So we're built to be able to have conversation, and it can meander a bit there and a bit there, and I have my turn and you have your turn. So I mean, if you're listening, you're not really having a turn, but still your nervous system is receiving the conversation in a way that we were designed to. Whereas on social media and TV, it's just a barrage of at you. And so it's an onslaught, so it can feel really
Heavy.
triggering. It's just, I think
Triggering,
it's
yeah.
dysregulating. You're talking about regulating your nervous system. That's just dysregulating, isn't it?
You're so right. I had to stop watching the news. I used to be a news watcher every morning. I'd get up and turn on the news and drink my coffee, and I can't do it anymore. It's like you said, it was a barrage of just negative,
Yes.
negative, negative. And funny, Vicky and I both started our careers in news. I worked for a newspaper. Yeah, I worked for a newspaper and Vicky was in broadcast. And so we both come from news
Yeah.
hound type of backgrounds. We're getting the story, and being in the know was such a part of the daily life. And I loved that part of my career. I absolutely did. But it was some of the most difficult things to be part of too,
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure. But Laura, do you think also what's happening is, I'm asking, like, you come from that background, because my perception is that you can't really trust the news anymore. It's all a bit captured. And it's like, So when you're listening to individual people, I can always trust what you are saying. But you're not telling me that, or you're not telling your audience, this is the way it is. It's much gentler, as in, well, this is what I'm seeing, this is what I'm hearing or feeling, right?
Yeah.
Whereas sometimes when we watch the news, it's fact, but sometimes those facts are not even right.
Well, and they could be biased, and they can
Yes.
be, massaged to sound bigger than they actually are. I mean, in the news, you say like the bigger the number, the bigger, the better the headline. It was, you would go for the bigger, news story. We would all fight for the news story. So yeah, I definitely agree. I understand why people don't trust the news. But what I worry is people trust what they see on social media, and anybody can say anything about anything on social media. And how do you know any of it's true?
I mean, we're dealing with, isn't it interesting? We've come through a time of, we're talking about entrepreneurship, but now we're going off track. It's okay. You invited me onto your podcast.
It's all related. I see it all as related for sure. And thought leadership, yeah.
Yeah, that we've these two huge things that are creating so much division in the world. We had the pandemic, the vaxxers and the anti-vaxxers, right? We had like family breakdowns and everybody so believes their position, and there's nothing you could say that would change them on both sides of the fence. And now we've got the same thing going on around Israel, Gaza. Massive things that are just tearing us apart.
Yeah.
What do we
Politics.
do?
Yeah, politics was
Yeah.
there, absolutely. And I think part of the problem is so easy to I try to teach my children this. We create our own algorithm, right? So
Yes, we do.
what we engage with, we see more of, because that's what the algorithm
Yes.
is designed to do, is give us
Yeah.
exactly what we're looking for. So if you
Yeah.
start engaging with a post on one side of a political debate, you're
Yeah.
all of it going to see more and more and more and more. So you're just going to be like your discernment between the debate, right, is going to go completely that way, because that's all you're seeing. You're no longer seeing the other side of the story. Where at least with like traditional news, when we're going back 20, 30 years, you would often see
All hearing.
different sides of the story, right? They would capture more of that. Where now you're leading yourself unknowingly towards
Yeah.
one path.
The other thing, Laura, is we all got to see the same thing. Whether you agreed with it or not, you were all hearing similar news.
Yeah.
A girlfriend of mine said to me the other day, "Oh, you know that that guy who keeps showing up on Facebook." And I'm like, "What guy?" He's there all the time. He's coming out, and I'm like, "I don't know who you're talking about." And he goes, and I think it was either like Gabor Mate, I think it was. And I'm like, he doesn't show up on my Facebook. I've never seen him on my Facebook. So that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Siloing ourselves. We are creating our own reality. Like,
Oh my goodness, this
think
is so
that's,
good.
yeah,
I have to jump in. This is so good because as you're both talking, Laura described it so beautifully with the social media algorithm. The tech has become our reticular activation.
yes.
So reticular activation is right. When you think you're going to buy a car and you think you've decided on a red car, you start seeing all the red cars on the road. You never noticed there were so many red cars on the road. It's we create our reality. We do. That's just how life works. We create our reality. And so what you've just described is the social media, the tech has become our reticular activation.
Yeah.
So we've actually cemented it in a much more rigid layer.
But also, I think
We have to.
Vicky, we're cementing it in, but we're also expanding it. It's like the reticular activating system that you're talking about is a very internal thing. And it's real. It's exactly as you described it. But the cars that are out there don't change. What you see changes. What you notice changes. But
Exactly.
now it's going up another level because what you're seeing is also changing. So it's not only internal. So it's a self-fulfilling loop, and it's just ramping up and up and up.
Yeah.
We have to be so careful about what we choose to, going back to your point, Andrea, what we choose to feed our brain with.
Yes.
Through socials and other manners, other ways. And even in more traditional sense, we always talk about your community. We are the sum of the 5 people we spend the most time with. It's the same conversation in real life.
Yeah.
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 It 100% matters. It 100% matters. And I think that's just such an important thing for everyone to understand. Your Facebook is not my Facebook. What Vicky sees
No,
is different from what you see,
totally.
and what I see completely. And I think most people don't realize that. They think, like you said, the guy everybody sees, Gabor Mate or whoever it was, all the time. No, unless you're following him, you've liked a thing, you made a comment under one of the things.
I
Or
mean, I love
shared it.
Gabor
Oh,
Mate.
me
Don't get
too.
me wrong. I think
Me
he's
too. I wouldn't
amazing.
mind seeing more of
We
him.
got to start following him.
The whole feed is going to be him tomorrow. Watch.
Yeah, just because we spoke
They
it.
heard us. They heard us. Google's listening. Actually, talking about Google listening, my partner and I, we sometimes watch TV in bed, got a big TV at the end of the bed, and like when Google does something like we get annoyed, it's a joke. It's just like, Google, this thing is just not working, because they're listening, right? You wonder, do they actually ever listen in to your private conversations? They don't know. Don't know. I'm not worrying about it.
Oh my goodness. It's such a beautiful conversation. I feel like we just could meet weekly and have this conversation. It's interesting because we haven't once touched on your business, Andrea.
My
So
business.
I feel like you're going to be the advisory board member for many businesses with the wisdom that you're bringing. Share with us your business and how you bring in your magic wand wish in what you do.
Thank you, Vicky. So I've got a coaching business called Successful Creative. And through that, I work with one-on-one coaching clients. I do group coaching, and I also have programs about getting in touch with and expressing your own inner genius. Because I think that when good people get out of their own way and are able to do things that really light their soul, and that's what we were talking before, like right in the beginning, about healthy sources of dopamine, or healthy ways to light your fire, like to do that in healthy ways. This emotional work is so much more important than business strategy. Of course you need business strategy, but that's the easy part. But no matter how much strategy you have in business, if you cannot live with yourself on an emotional level, you're never going to achieve any of the things that you want to achieve anyway. So so my work is in that realm. It's working for success, but starting with who are you, what lights you up, what are your blocks and barriers, what's in your way, where are you trying to go? And then separate to that, I do work for Compton School, I think I mentioned, which is a business school for the creative industries. And I run webinars and I run short courses. It's actually really great because I think it's only the only business school that has like personal development strand as part of the business school.
Oh, I
And
love
I'm that strand. And then next year I might be part of teaching a diploma in creative business in New Zealand.
Love that. Vicky and I often say that entrepreneurship is the greatest personal development journey you'll ever go on. Because being in business for yourself, when you got to figure it out and face those imposter syndrome dragons and all the other things we have to figure out along the path, we really learn an awful lot about yourself.
We do. And Laura, that's another benefit of doing a podcast like this, right? Like when we talk about these things, that people who are starting out on their entrepreneur journey get to realize, oh, this is part of the journey.
Yeah.
Not like there's something wrong with me. It is.
Exactly.
I think there's so much value in sharing, and so much value in sharing the struggles and the vulnerabilities, because just that in itself will help somebody else be able to maintain their journey.
You nailed
Good on
it.
you both for doing this.
That's exactly why we started this podcast. That's exactly what we hope to share with everybody, was that you are not alone on this journey. This journey is not a linear one. It is not an easy one. It involves challenges and setbacks and rejections and all the things we talked about today. So, 100%, even when you're at the top of your game, you're still going to have things to deal with, and you're still going to have doubts to overcome and work. Maybe not even overcome. Maybe it's learn to work with, and yeah. Yeah, exactly. Because it's a journey. It's a long journey. It's a winding journey, and having amazing people like you along the journey is what makes it all worthwhile.
Thank you very
Andrea,
much.
this was the best campfire conversation we've had. I'm going to use that from now on. I love the thought of that we're just sitting around a campfire, three women having a great conversation. And I love the idea of a listener just out there like eavesdropping in and, learning something and growing in their own way.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So thank you so much.
Yeah, and just before we wrap up, I just want to mention you touched on it ever so briefly that you'd had a brain injury
Oh, yeah.
and that you'd completely like you've been through a massive recovery process. We haven't even touched on that. I believe it is a topic or a part. It's a key part of your TED talk. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
And so we can share the link to that TED talk
Oh, that'd be
in
great.
the show
Yeah.
notes so people can learn even more about you and your incredible journey and recovery. And that in itself is a story worth telling. And you told it so beautifully on
Thank
the
you.
TED stage.
Yeah.
Yet I think it just adds yet another dimension, another layer of who you are, Andrea. And thank you. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and all your great insights. I'm excited to listen back to this.
My
And
pleasure. It's been so great being with you both. Thank you so much. I'll keep listening to the rest of them going forward. Good on you both.
Amazing. Thank you, Andrea.